where seeds are planted, culture is cultivated, and scholars come to grow. Hopefully, you're having a great day, and I'm glad that you're joining us to talk about what's happening in room 314. Uh, During this particular unit, the scholars will be engaging in a study of the wonderful novel Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Scholars have the opportunity to view and engage with other fiction within this unit and other nonfiction within this unit as they work towards the learning target and explore literary concepts such as point of view, character development, figurative language, setting, plot, mood, tone, so on and so forth. We'll also be practicing analyzing literature by making inferences and making predictions and supporting our thoughts with evidence, specifically from the text, from the supplemental text that we'll have in the class, and things of that nature. And then at the end of the unit, the scholars will apply their knowledge of the literary elements and what they've learned to create a document exploring the themes of bullying, peer pressure, kindness, fitting in, and really the idea of identity. For this particular lesson, the scholars will be getting set up with the novel, so doing a lot of introductory work to hook them in and reel them on in via expectations and an introduction of the content and the novel itself. They'll be expected to complete reflections connecting their own experiences to the themes in the novel. Again, friendship, acceptance, kindness, growing up, bullying, peer pressure, fitting in, identity things. So for this lesson, we will focus on three standards. The first one is RL 5.1, which is reading literature. 5.1, quote accurately from a text when explaining what the text says explicitly and when drawing inferences from the text. So the desired goal for that would be that students will be able to make inferences by using background knowledge and evidence from the text. So an I can statement for that would be I can make inferences by using background knowledge and evidence from the text. Pretty straightforward. Or I can draw conclusions by using background knowledge, and I can support my inferences and conclusions by using exact evidence from the text. So it's threefold. I broke that one down specifically so that they can see all three things, which is making inferences, drawing conclusion, and supporting their inferences, but all of them end with the same thing: using background knowledge and evidence specifically from the text so that they know that they have to go back to the text at the end of that. Also, 5.2, determine a theme of a story, drama, or poem from details in the text. Students will be able to clearly identify the theme of a novel using specific evidence from the text to support their claims. It's a little early for this one. It's just kind of what they're working towards. So they'll be able to kind of see the theme throughout the various activities that we'll do. So I'm not expecting them to necessarily have this like pinpointed, but for them to kind of be thinking about what themes they see through the activities that we'll do for this particular day. The learning target, I can identify and explain the theme of a story or novel, and I can use evidence, again, from the text to support my explanation of the theme. So really focusing in on students being able to go back to the text and provide evidence of why they have made a decision that they've made. And that's actually it. They're not going to do the last one. And then so for this particular lesson, I focused in on one class. We have cohorts, and so I focused in on one particular cohort. They're a set of 22 kiddos, 12 girls and 10 boys. It's a fraction of the 107 kids that we had in fourth grade last year. All of the students identify as Black or African American. Of the 22 students that are in this particular class, 2 students receive services from Advanced Studies and 1 receives SPED services. So specifically thinking about those numbers, while there are no linguistic or cultural or health considerations that directly affect the learning, academic and learning needs have an impact in the classroom. So we have student 1 is a male 4th grade student in our class, and he reads on a K level, classifying him as below grade level. 4th graders are expected to come into their 4th grade school year on a level S. So if you're just thinking of the alphabet A through Z, he came in at K, he's supposed to be at S. So you can think about those dynamics. His proficiencies do impact his behavior and attitude towards learning. Many times when the work presents itself as too challenging, he becomes distracted or a distraction for his classmates. While his fluency isn't terrible, it's definitely improved. His comprehension is still limited, and he often waits for other people to respond before he'll provide an answer, just so that he can try to mimic what they've already said. Um, During the school year, he comes in for morning tutoring sessions, but we found that he wasn't really engaging with those tutoring sessions or with the material. He was just like using the computer and just guessing and checking his answers, as opposed to like really engaging with it and figuring out how to comprehend what was there, how to become a better reader. And so um, since then, he's been provided with more direct guided reading practice, to focus on reading and comprehension. He still comes in during the mornings, but again, the focus is a little bit different. He was also pulled out during summer school, and he received supports from Title I reading instructors. And because of where he's at on his reading level, he was supported with third grade students as opposed to other fourth graders who were pulled out, in order to try to move him a little bit closer to where he needs to be for grade level. Student 2 is a female fourth grade student in the same class, and she displays academic proficiencies that have placed her in the category of proficient. She's currently reading on a level T, which is above where fourth graders were supposed to come in for the school year. She does struggle with the more rigorous work and finds herself taking a lengthy time to complete even the most menial of tasks. But in all subject areas, she's performing right at grade level based on her scores from MAP testing and where she came in for the school year. Her proficiencies don't impact her behavior or attitude towards learning. So like, she is engaged and she wants to learn more, and she wants to be a part of the class, and she finds herself advocating for her needs when she isn't necessarily in a position where she understands, or is having some struggles. And though she needs more time to complete her work now that's becoming more rigorous, she does engage in content and looks for opportunities to, again, engage and to be a help for her peers. She shows herself as a leader, often asking for ways to improve and chances to facilitate group work as a teacher in training. So sometimes she gets to lead the class, and help out in that way. Some essential questions that were the focus of this is what's the difference between like explicit details and implicit details, and how do we use those details to gain information? And how do I find details to support my opinion? So those are where we're going to focus for this lesson, as they think about the predictions that they're making and what that looks like in the grand scheme of the novel that we'll be reading. So to start this class, we would first read the learning target. So I would randomly call on a student to read the learning target out loud for the entire class. The learning targets are posted up on the board, so everyone will be able to see it and refer back to it during the class period. After having that student read the learning target, we'll randomly select a student to identify several key words in the target. So for this one particularly would be predictions and evidence, because those are the main focus for this lesson, making predictions, basing it on evidence. And so we'll have students try to define those words. So they'll engage in a think, pair, share, and try to talk about what those two words mean. And then I'll call on a student to share out what prediction means and put their definition in the learning target, and the same with evidence, and put their definition in the learning target, so that we have more. The I can statement is already student friendly, but this one is like student generated, so it's even more student friendly. And they'll be able to see both what I've posted and what they've decided that means for them as they move towards reaching that goal. And then I'll have another student reread the learning target with the new definitions for those two words in the learning target. It will be placed on an anchor chart as they're reading. So this will specifically go to support student 1 with comprehension, as it's put in even more student-friendly language, and it'll allow students to use informal language when providing these definitions. So we've talked a lot about code switching, and just getting them to think through what that means for them. How can they break it down even more so that they understand and recognize what's being asked for them or what goal they're working towards? After that, I do a quick fist of five, like fist of five, fist being a 0, 5 obviously being the most. How do you feel about accomplishing this goal? So I asked this question in the beginning of class just to see where they feel they are, if they think it's going to be too much, if they think it's not going to be enough, just to kind of gauge how the students are feeling about the lesson before we even dive into it. And then we would move on to the activities. So the first thing for this lesson is that they would be watching the movie trailer for Wonder and completing a right pair share based on the predictions that they will make. So they will have this wonderful worksheet. And part 1, as you can see up here, it's backwards because you're seeing it on the camera. I'm sorry, I can't fix that for you, but they'll describe what they saw and heard in the video, in the trailer, and then based on what they saw and heard, they will make predictions about the book, what they think is going to happen. So after they watch the trailer, they'll have time to fill that in. They'll do, again, a write, pair, share, and so they'll write, and then we'll have them share out with a partner. And then finally, I would bring them all back to whole group and cold call on a few students to share out either what they wrote or what they heard from their partner and that they thought was interesting. During this time, I would check in with student 1 and student 2 to have them try to talk me through their thinking before they write anything down, and try to gauge questions to get them kind of thinking through what they saw and what they heard as they're working through this process. And then from that point, we will engage in a nice gallery walk. Again, on this lovely worksheet, there's a part 2, which will be provided for the gallery walk. During this time, they'll again describe what they saw, heard, or read, and then how do they think it will connect to the book. So there's an example that we would do as a class together, which would be listening to the song Wonder by Natalie Merchant. And we would go through what we saw, what we heard, what we read as the lyrics are posted on the screen. I will play it for you right now, but I'm at 12 minutes. So look up this song, Wonder by Natalie Merchant. Think about what you saw in the video, what you heard, and what you read through the lyrics, and then how they think it will connect to the book. And then at station 1, they would see this picture. Station 2, they would see this quote: "When given the choice between being right or being kind, choose kind," by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. Then they'll see this picture. This will be at station 3. This will be at station 4. This will be at station 5. These are quotes from Christina Aguilera's song Beautiful. "You are beautiful no matter what they say. Words can't bring you down. You are beautiful in every single way. Yes, words can't bring you down." I'll change that. It says mater, but matter. And this will be at the last station, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And so as the students are walking around, they're going to consider what these pictures mean and how they relate to the novel that we're reading. The very last thing that they'll do when they come back to their seats is they will do part 3. Using what they've seen and what they've read today, they'll write 3 I wonder statements about the book Wonder. So they'll consider what they wonder is going to happen. Throughout the unit, we'll seek to respond to the wonderings and remove some of the questions from the board. So these wonderings will be placed on our wonder board at the back of the classroom so that we can see what everyone is wondering about this particular book and what it means for them and what it means for our class. And so we'll provide, we'll try to answer some of those questions and respond to them together as a class. And if we have responses, we'll be able to move them from our wonderings to maybe a knowing board because we no longer wonder about it. Students will come back together, whole group. They'll be at their desk, and so I'll bring the kiddos back together to talk about some of the things that they saw, some of the things that they heard, some of the things that they read, and wonderings that they had at the end, and talk through the feelings that they felt as they read and viewed the things during the gallery walk and insights they got as they were able to talk in small groups. So they'll have an opportunity to join together in small groups before they do their wonderings. I'm sorry, I meant to say that. For the students, this will be like, I'll provide a glossary of words that will be relevant to the novel that offer additional supports for the students. So sentence frames that will support some of the lower level kiddos at entering and emerging levels of proficiency. So at the stations, as they're looking to write on their graphic organizer, trying to provide sentence stems for them so that they know what that could look like as they're writing through this worksheet. Obviously, modeling is going to be a huge part of that, just so they know where they're going, and the modeling the process of viewing the images and thinking through what it can mean towards our text, and displaying guiding questions to support all the learners, especially the visual learners, through there, and then supporting students consider modifying the prompts so they can display their thinking by showing single words or actions if they're at a level that's super low. The only product for this particular lesson will be the worksheet and then the student reader notebooks, where they'll be recording their ideas and observations and evolving thoughts. The sections in the notebooks are aligned to like the characters, the book themes, and general journaling sections. And so their morning prompts, their do now prompts, and their prompts at the end of the day would be in there, and they'll write in their notebooks daily. For this particular lesson, they would be writing their predictions and recording their evidence and observations to support those predictions. And their journaling will serve as their exit ticket for this particular lesson. So students will be provided the writing prompt, and they'll respond to it and provide details from the day's lessons. And then in their response, they'll re-identify their prediction and note if it changed based on the gallery walk and their peer discussions, and they'll have some writing time at the end of class after that group discussion has taken place to really refine that and see and provide evidence for why they're refining it or why they chose to keep it as it is. And that is this particular lesson. I hope that it's been informative, and I hope that you go out and read the book Wonder. And we are all wonders for the smaller kiddos. You can use it as an introduction to this book. And I want to give a shout out to everyone for viewing this video and taking your time. Like, share, comment, subscribe down there in the comments section. And thanks for being troopers through this class. Thank you for all of your supports and the discussions that we've had. And I hope your summer was wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you later. Thanks!